Before the pandemic, Boston was a prime destination for visitors from around the world, many of them drawn to elements of history and sports. But as Boston struggles to recover from the pandemic, the potential influx is more restricted, and the need to attract visitors with a different pitch is more urgent. That explains the new campaign, Boston All Inclusive, supported by the city with help from federal relief money. To tell us about the advertising campaign and the underlying strategy is a leader of the team for creative branding and design, the founder and managing director at Proverb agency, Daren Bascome. Thank you very much for being with us, Daren.
Great stuff. No, thank you. It's good to see you, Chris.
Daren, at first glance at the ad created for this campaign, it seemed to be all about us here in Boston, but it's also about them, the people that we want to come here. What did you find out from your research with those potential visitors?
Sure. First off, it really starts with, the mandate that we had gotten from the city, that they really were focused on, both, a safe reopening of the city. And, we really tried to sort of time it at a point where people are making travel plans. And then lastly, how do we help to, foster an equitable recovery. If you look at the communities that have been disproportionately impacted by COVID, they're also the same communities that really serve as the backbone of travel and hospitality. And so, as we started to think a little bit about, the campaign, sort of the market study, that was commissioned, we looked at both residents of Boston. We also looked at likely visitors. We sort of went out really around sort of 4 hours of within driving distance. So that kind of took us all the way out to the tri-state area. And, and what we found was that, there were things about the city that, that many of us know and love, whether it's its history or sort of the culture that exists here and things along those lines. And, we also, heard from others, that we aren't always as welcoming, as we can be. And, and so certainly things like that can negatively impact, these types of efforts. And so what we really tried to do with the campaign was to, tell a broader story of everything that exists here in Boston. When those who were surveyed heard more about what exists here, their interests were piqued.
Can you give me an example of something that piqued your interest?
Sure. So for instance, that Boston is much more than what happens between, Fenway Park and the Freedom Trail. It's 23 neighborhoods. There's an incredible amount of diversity that exists within the city. I've been here for close to 35 years. Inside of that time, Boston's become more international. It's become more innovative. It's become more hip. And so what we really wanted to try to do was to, create, additional narratives, so that as people think about, where they might want to spend, an evening for dinner, or where they might want to spend a weekend, or anything else, that Boston is really sort of part of that consideration set. I think that, as the vaccines are starting to roll out and we're not looking to, turn the faucet on full blast tomorrow, we really want people to, consider, coming to Boston, for those visits.
One of the things I picked up on from Mayor Janey's reaction to the ad was not only that people who were previously invisible in ad campaigns being present, but even the people who were visible before, they're not as stereotyped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we believe that representation, is central, to the history of Boston. I think is one of our core values, and so whether it's the Tea Party or whether it's an effort like All Inclusive Boston and this campaign, we think that, all of these efforts are really about, ensuring that that all of us, feel like our stories are being told. we thought a lot about how we could begin to introduce some new faces and some new places. The market research underscored that people really wanted to see real things and real individuals. But we also thought a lot about as we were presenting the places that are more expected or associated with the city, how we can do those in a way that feels fresh, that felt attractive, and that felt welcoming at the end of the day.
A lot of us who've been living in the city a long time, we already knew this, that you could go to another neighborhood, to some sort of a cultural setting that was new to you, and still feel very comfortable and welcomed. But a lot of other people don't know that. Was
Mhm.
that an important consideration for you here?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, what we want to ensure is that that anyone who comes to our city has a great time. I think that certainly over the last 10 years, we've seen a real trend towards things that we determine are conspicuously authentic. And so almost everyone's looking for the unique version uh, of of a thing or of a place. And so what we really tried to do was to curate, a whole suite of real events, and these are real people doing real things, that we shot in the height of the pandemic, in many cases, and to underscore, all the things that you can do while here, and that if you come here, that you're going to have a good time.
One of the words I heard, I guess part of the word cloud here was grit. I don't always think of grit for Boston, but uh, where did you feel it?
Yeah, so I think that we really Boston is a historic city, and while we've been experiencing a building boom and and that there's a steely resilience that I think exists here, that isn't as common in other places. There's a real interest in education and doing things well and trying to figure out how you can be the best version of who you may be. And so as we thought a little bit about the photography and the point of view of how we told our story, we wound up employing an incredible street photographer in the name of Harry Scales. We worked with a really smart video production team. And so once again, we wanted to present a fresh take on the city. And that was everything from the photography to our color palette to the soundtrack to, even using Boston's poet laureate as our narrator.
I would recognize the cadences of Portia Olayiwola. They're quite different from the typical, state Bureau of Commerce kind of advertising, and yet they were really effective.
Yes. Yeah, it's we think that there was an incredible opportunity to tell a broader story. I think despite all of our success, in some of the previous communications, we haven't done a good enough job, in terms of everyone feeling like they can see themselves in these types of campaigns. I think if you look at the popular media around Boston, it's oftentimes been told by others, and we haven't perhaps done as good of a job driving our own narrative, and so whether that's through film or television or advertising or anything else, and so we tried to create something that we thought would feel a great deal fresher, and that ultimately would feel effective and and would allow us to begin to reopen, but also try to be a better version of the city.
Well, one thing that puts you in a good position to be involved in a campaign like this is that you've been in the Boston area for a long time, but at the same time, you originally came from somewhere else. You're a transplant, and what I'm wondering about, what made you stay?
So yeah, so I came here over 35 years ago from Bermuda. Like many people, came here to go to college and decided to stay one more year. And inside of that time, I was able to, raise a family in the South End. Was able to start a successful business. Was able to make, amazing connections. You know, I would say that, much of the work that we do at Proverb at this point revolves around how we can help to facilitate vibrant communities through placemaking and place branding, and so, as exciting as it's been to work with the city and help it to tell its story, we've also played a role in the commercial real estate landscape. We've been able to work with major cultural institutions. We've been able to work with higher ed and healthcare institutions. And we've been able to do that work not just here, but whole country. And I feel quite fortunate, that I made that decision to stay on.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us, and good luck. We hope to see some of those visitors pretty soon.
Great stuff. Thank you, Chris.
Great. That was Daren Bascome from Proverb Agency. We'll have more news in just a moment.